Well, good morning if you are in North America. Good afternoon if you are in the UK or Europe. Good evening if you are in Australia and anywhere else. Hopefully, I've covered all of you. Welcome to our Q1 2026 software release webinar. I'm James Alty, founder and managing director of Apteco, and I'm going to be your host for the next hour. I'll try to keep it to exactly the hour so we don't overrun. I'm joined online by Melanie Davis, our group marketing manager, who will be looking after the polls and the questions and the chat and the feedback that you guys can put in. So your calls are muted automatically, but you can raise questions in the Teams webinar Q&A panel. We have several sections today. We are covering what's happened in the last 3 months and the Q1 release of our Apteco software. And during that period, we released Orin, our generative AI assistant, with 3 tiers: the knowledge guide, the data navigator, and the solution builder, which I hope you guys are starting to get used to. And I'm going to show you some new capabilities that Orin has gained, including the ability to summarize dashboards. We're going to today have a look at the connect part of Orbit, including improvements to the Apteco CDP, Customer Data Platform, and talk about some of the changes we've made in how we can both manually and on a schedule merge records where identities can be linked, and that hopefully will be useful for you. We'll look at a variety of analytics techniques, both in FastStats and in Orbit, and I'll show some new visual presentations in FastStats, or a new visual presentation in FastStats, but also talk about some of the improvements we've made in Orbit. And some of those actually are in the campaign area, which is where I'll do most of my demo this time, just to give you some of the improvements that we've made in campaign personalization. There's so much that happens in a quarter that I can't demo it all in an hour, but I try and give you a flavor of it and some pointers of where you can find further information. And one way that you can find further information is using our What's New page. We'll send you these slides as a PDF after the webinar, and the links are live in the PDF, so you can connect to the Explore, push on the Explore More button, and you'll be able to see the What's New page. But it is apteco.com/what's-new, and there you can find what's new in Q1 2026, which covers the material that I'm going to be talking about today. But we make a history available, so you can see the milestones and you can see what's new in each release. So hopefully that's a helpful resource for you. As always, remember our help material is fully public, searchable, Googleable, and you can use that to understand more about what the Apteco software offers you. And in particular, with thanks to Reese, our technical author, we have revamped the whole of the Orbit documentation on the Help Hub this time. So newly presented in a single space, fully searchable, with beautiful new branding and clear iconography, everything about Orbit. So you can now search everything in one place, and you can see it on the screen, a result of a search term looking for campaign folders. So everything from the connect part of the product, where we pull data in, to audiences, dashboards, and campaigns, is all searchable in the same space. Now, we deployed it recently onto a major platform, and actually they're having some performance problems with it. It's sometimes a bit slow to respond. We're aware of that. We're working with them to improve the performance, but just bear with us a little bit. And as a result, I'm not going to demo this today. I've demoed help setups for you before, but it's new and better, and only temporarily slightly slower. So we'll get that up to scratch. A quick reminder that we have on-demand training courses available for you, streamed directly to your laptop or device. with multiple sections in separate videos for you to self-service, and you can consume it all in a few hours on one day, or you can spread your learning over a period, and we allow you up to 30 days to access a training course. And we have 3 available at the moment: Orbit Dashboards and Audiences, Orbit Campaigns, and the advanced course for fast ads. But coming soon, we have Orbit Connect and CDP in a single course. And following that, we will do a course on Apteco email. Di and Ian, our training team, are working on scripts, recording and editing each of those. And it's a great way for you to access highly skilled trainers and their material whenever suits you, for your new team members, or if you want a refresher on something, for example. So come and look online. You can see the courses that are available. Now, we're going to start with AI and just a little bit about what we've been doing with Orin. And we've been learning to live with and care for Orin, our new generative AI assistant, and have been looking at the AI technology development, including changes into the model capabilities that we use. At the moment, we are holding with the current model. We use an OpenAI ChatGPT 4.0 mini model behind the scenes, and that's working really quite well. But our team are constantly monitoring and on top of the different models and the capabilities those models have, and we will keep Orin up to date. But we've put some further capabilities into Orin's hands. He can now summarize dashboards for you, and I'll show you that live in a minute. We've also improved his awareness of new resources that you create within your Apteco Orbit environment. So as you create campaigns or dashboards or refresh virtual variables, soon to be called custom variables, incidentally, in the Orbit era, Orin now has a better handle on those and can do a better job of addressing them and reporting on those for you. So let's just go and have a quick look at Orin to start with. So I will pick the appropriate Orbit system. I've already logged on to save time. And let's just go to dashboards, and let's have a look at actually my home dashboard to start with. Here's a dashboard with a typical set of visualizations and number tiles and cards and maps and so on. And you will find in the top right hand corner on the action menu the new Orin summarized dashboard option, and you'll see that in effect we've started Orin and asked him to summarize the dashboard for us, which he is now doing using one of my credits for the day. So 2995 just came down to 2994 using one Apteco question for the day. And as yet, we haven't seen anyone burn through all their credits in a single day, and we'll be monitoring that just to see how that works. And you can see a nice response from Orin. The Apteco marketing dashboard reveals key insights on bookings, profits, sources, and demographic distributions. And remember, this is fictitious, so we're not going to read too much into there, but we get a bullet pointed list with some highlight points, and then a more discussive presentation of some of what Orin has learned. I'll just use this large text result to show you that the Orin window is the first in Orbit that is stretchy. So, you can choose the size and shape of the Orin window. You can also swap sides. We use this icon throughout the product now for swap sides to allow you to get Orin out of the way if you're trying to look at some particular resource. And just as an illustration, if I copy that resource using the copy panel, and just for simplicity, I put that into a blank document in Word, for example, you can see we're carrying some nice formatting across for you. So the resource is quite nicely presented. That summary, you could type at the top, "Dear boss, here is my report on the current dashboard," for example, and I don't need to save that. So hopefully those sorts of resources will be helpful for you. We can also do some work with the recent resources. So I could say, please list the 10 most recently created audiences. And Orin has some idea of the dates of when resources were created now, a bit more knowledge of what's been worked on, and indeed the Any Australia, any date booking that you just saw scroll past. Let me go back up there. This one, Any Australia and Any last year. I did just create that this morning, so I'm going to demo you that later on, and you can see various other resources that I've been working on today, including some that are from previously. I can do similar work with campaigns. Please list the 5 most recently executed campaigns, for example. Hopefully I typed all that properly. And there you go, there's campaigns. So you can start to get rich resources back from Orin based on the currency, the current activity. I'm just going to show you one other thing that's changed with Orin since we introduced him. I can say, please create an audience of people with a job title of director, for example, and hopefully Orin will behave himself, create me an audience, hopefully the right people, and we're still looking at the safety net around Orin. We've seen, for example, if you ask for something that's not possible to select on your data, so you refer to products that don't exist, Orin can inappropriately select the wrong product, just the best one that he found, but not the one you wanted. And because of that, you can see that we now pop up a warning to say your audience, called Director's Audience, has been created successfully. Please review it to ensure everything is correct. So when you create a resource using Orin, we just ask you to acknowledge that we're giving you the obligation to check that it is correct. Let's just minimize Orin. It's a selection of people by occupation with job title of director. All right, well done. Orin got it right. So I think we can say that is a sensible check for you, just to make sure that that resource is okay. So let's just go, and we have a little Orin poll for you, which hopefully Mel can present on screen. And I can never remember from one quarter to the next whether I can see these polls while you're answering them, or yes, I can. So we're just curious, how are you getting on with Orin? Have you tried Orin yet? Are you permitted to use AI? Are you planning to use Orin? Just one answer. Tell us how you're getting on. Have you had a quick experiment? Are you using Orin to help you understand your data, to create audiences, or are you truly yourself an AI? So I'm going to tick one of those, and we can then see the result when Mel's got enough results in. She'll share those. Yeah, it looks like most people have not yet had a go, but plan to. So I think if Mel shares that, thank you very much. Now, so yeah, do feedback to us. You can let us know, and the support team are ready to help you if you need guidance using Orin. Right, let's move over to the Connect part of orbit. Connect is where we define data models, where we bring data in. It's designed for use in the cloud, so you can connect cloud to cloud, but you can use it in your data centers, of course, as well. We've improved how we handle transactional data in the CDP. CDP is, if you like, an adjunct to Connect. Connect is the framework that allows you to pull your SQL tables and your Salesforce system and whatever into your Apteco presentation. But the CDP allows you to bring multiple data sources and resolve them together around a customer identity. You can see on our screenshot there, individuals at the top level. And in this case, we're showing how we can now process transaction data as what we call customer data tables. So they're in the customer data platform, they're imported as customer data tables. You can still have user-defined tables as well, but this is giving you a little bit more finesse inside the CDP to manage those data import capabilities and do delta updates onto them. What I'm going to show you today in a minute is a new facility that allows you to manually or on a schedule manage the merge of customer identities. So if you have an input record that is matched to an existing record, then we can make the link at the point of input. But if you subsequently update both of those records, they've got separate identities, and then you find that they've got data in common, either manually or as I'll show you on a schedule, you can merge those Apteco identities and create a new identity with all of that data brought together, properly recognizing the total transaction value, the total spend, the full contact details that you've retrieved for that individual, perhaps just because two records in different source systems eventually showed up with the same email address or mobile number or whatever rule you were prepared to use. You can link those records together. So I'll show you that in a moment, just to give you a flavor for it. We've also done some work just to smooth the way. If you're building your Apteco system through the CDP, we have a lot of data, a lot of knowledge about the tables that you have defined, the attributes of those tables, the relationships between them, for example. And you can now, in a single click, add all of those tables and their definitions into your Apteco design, where previously you'd have added each table, individual, mobile number, landline number, email address. You'd have added each of those tables. You can now add them all in one go. And throughout Connect and the CDP, we've just been improving the finesse of some of those dialogues, how you can preview data, what's highlighted for you to see more easily, for example. And you'll find that when you use Connect. And it takes effort over the long term to just keep the smooth use of the application. It's something we work hard on. So let's go and have a look. And this time I'm choosing a different Orbit system, actually running on the very same server, but it's one that is designed for us to demo the CDP rather than a built and polished and ready to run system. So some of you may have never used it yet, but the Connect application, if enabled on your Orbit instance, is launched by clicking the cog. Which gives us a more detailed cog, which slightly amuses me in a sad sort of way. And the more detailed cog lets us go through a lot of things like data sources, and we can see here we've got some customer data, some order data, some product detail data. And I'm not going to repeat what I've demonstrated before and how you can build systems in here. We've got some data mappings where we've defined the variables and how we're using them. And then most obviously we've got the data build, and here's a classic Apteco CDP setup where we have distinct unique individuals in the customer data table at the top, and then related to that we have 4 different contact points, being email addresses, physical addresses, mobile numbers and landline. And then we also have mappings of the source identifiers, so customer account number for example. And in this particular demo system, which only has 11 records in it, so we're not going for high scale in this demo. We've got some orders and some order lines or something similar. It doesn't actually matter for today's purposes. And we could be bringing records into here based on their email address, for example, creating distinct individuals. There might be other records coming in based on a mobile number, creating distinct individuals. And as I say, when you get an input that updates those records so that you've got data in common, what are you going to do? You've now found that actually what you thought was two distinct individuals is actually the same person. Well, we've given you mechanisms to deal with that. And if I go back to the system build and choose the right option, and I have now remembered where it actually is. It's on the cog, of course it is. We're going to use the merge records function. Now, the merge records function allows us to do work in two ways. I'll start with a manual merge because that will give us the easiest appreciation of what's going on. So let's say somebody has contacted you and said, I seem to be getting 2 emails from you every time, or something like that. So we can do a new manual merge. And in this case, we are simply manually declaring the references, the Apteco references for the records that we wish to merge. So I could say, for example, records 5, 6, and 7, I wish to merge together. And it says enter the individual IDs. All matching records will be combined into a single record, and importantly, we will create a new record. So we will still know about the individual who was numbered 5, the individual record that was number 6, the individual record that was number 7, and the new record will be number 20 or something, depending on where our highest numbers have been allocated to. So when I press merge, you'll see we get a suitably serious warning. Merging these will be final, can't be undone. We're actually merging those records. And so I can create a merge job. Now, what's actually happened, I think it's run so quickly before I'd even described it. What we've done is create a job to begin a manual merge. And we can see, if I go up to the top here, 12:22, so that is right now. We got started, we identified a job, it's an internal dedupe job, we created a lock, blah, 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 yeah, lots of technical detail. And we are creating a record, or creating a merge job, and we are merging 3 individuals into 1 new record. The new individual merged has ID 13. That's the 11 originals, plus the test I did this morning that created record 12, plus this one is record 13. It finished in a split second and is all done, and we released the logs. So a one-off, manually created occasion with an audit trail and logs and so on that tell you what happened. And that's lovely if you are at your desk and you get an email saying, please merge these records. But clearly there are occasions where you just want to have the system cleansing itself. And so let's go to the scheduled merge. And this time I will create a new scheduled merge, and I'm going to call this weekly, for example. Let's create that. And we get a choice of ID resolution rules to use. And by default, because we're trying to be helpful, we've selected 13 of those. They're in 5 sections. The 5 tables that we saw related to the individual, each has the opportunity to do a merge. So, for example, if we now find that 2 records share a source unique reference and they're in the same group of source system, then we can say, hang on a minute, you're now telling us this is the same person. Somewhere else, somebody has renumbered the records, we can link them together. Perhaps more likely, we can say, if we are now able to match on all of the person's title, their first name, their last name, and their email address, then we're probably prepared to say, we think this is the same person. You've got all 4 of those attributes from 2 separate places. We think we can bring them together. And ditto with variations. So first name, last name, email address, first name, last name, date of birth and email address. Those seem like reasonable things. And we've selected them by default. You'll see similar for physical addresses, where we're looking at the address lines, same sort of other criteria, where we're looking at mobile phone, so title, first name, last name, and phone number. Looks pretty compelling, etc. And the same with landline, which essentially the same options. Now you can see in total we've selected 13 rules, and actually at the bottom here it says we've selected 13 of 68 rules. I'm just going to demonstrate that if I select them all, we still only have 32 of 68, and that's because we've kept the lists shorter than we might have done by not showing more advanced rules. If I choose now to show those rules, you'll be able to see them very readily. For example, on email address, you can see we've now got soundex on the first name, and we require a minimum length of 5 characters in the input before we'll do a soundex on the name and then match it to last name and email address, and so on. So each of these now has further options. At the moment, we've still got 32 of the 68 rules selected. Just a quick mechanism. If I select them all and then I can deselect them all, I might go back and say, actually, what I want to do in this job, and let's get rid of the advanced rules just so we've got a shorter list. I want to pick those defaults up again just on the email and other sections, for example. So do I want to run this now? Well, yes, that would be helpful, but I also want to schedule it to recur. So I could say, rather than run it now, actually, let's do it at a specific time. We'll do it on Saturday night at 9 p.m. Hopefully you're all out having a much better time than watching your CDP do its dedupe thing, and we're going to repeat every week on a Saturday night at 9 p.m. Don't need to run it on a Tuesday, and we'll end when we get to the end of the year, for example. So I could go to December 31st. So now we've got a scheduled merge job with 13 rules. I deselected and reselected back to the default. It'll run every week until the 13th. And just like the manual job that you got, we will see the log and the rules and the results that have been created. Okay, hopefully that is helpful. I'm just having a quick look at the time and thinking I need to rattle along. So Mel, could we have the Connect poll? Thank you, Mel. So just give us an idea of how you are looking at Connect and the CDP. Have you tried it yet, or are you happy with Designer? Are you planning to have a go, or do you aspire to that? Do you plan to experiment? Have you started to experiment? Are you using it for data builds now, or you're already in production? And those of you who go, what, you've got a CDP? Well, you've got a choice for yourselves as well. Who knew Apteco had a CDP? And I'm going to tick the one that says I'm using it already. Let's see how you guys are getting on. Okay, so most of you are happy with Designer. Well, we have spent years and years working on Designer, polishing all the rough edges, but yeah, there's about I suppose 30% who are planning to have a go with Connect. So we'll support you. Let us know if you need help. The tech services team, both in the UK and worldwide, can help you with the capabilities. Right, thank you very much, Mel. Right, on to analyze, and we have some fast stats capabilities for you. Some of you know that one of the on-the-fly aggregations is the pattern match capability, and we have new capabilities to do rolling summation and mean so ongoing sum and ongoing mean. And we've also extended how you can specify the time period allowed between two transactions to be deemed to be in your pattern. Previously, for a date time variable, we always assumed seconds, and you had to express the time in a number of seconds. And if it was a date variable you were using, we always assumed days, and you had to express the period in terms of number of days. As you can see on the screenshot, we now support date time variables in seconds, minutes, and hours. And actually, we then allow you to do date times into the day level criteria: days, weeks, months, quarters, and years. If you've got a date variable, we allow you not only to do days, but also weeks, months, quarters, and years. Now, Chris, who works on this, actually flagged up that he just found a problem when you use a date time variable in one of the bigger day level or above bandings, which he's resolved. So we're constantly working on refining these things, making them easier for you to use, and to stay in touch with us if you're using this type of capability. We also now have a linear trend measure. I'm not going to try and demonstrate this today. There's a lot of detail if you want to try and read what the linear trend should be. We've got two screenshots here, one with a positive linear trend plus 282, one with a negative linear trend over time, showing that the values are descending, and you can see a negative number presenting that. And those sorts of measures pulled out of the detail of your transactions, giving you the ability to understand which direction is this customer going. Are they becoming more or less engaged, more or less valuable with you? You can start to see that data. You'll also see in a minute that we've got some new capabilities just on how we lay out some of the results in the cubes. And in fact, I have an interesting new mechanism for you, in that we've introduced for your feedback a heat map type display of a cube. So not only can we now do things like best fitting the numbers in the columns of a cube, but we can now force those columns to be tiny. And forcing them to be tiny allows us just to show the color and not to show the numeric detail. Now, you can only see part of it under the screenshot, but that orange heat map is showing the last few years across the top, and real flight destinations down the left-hand side. We build a flight database. Some of you will have seen Chris Rowe present that in some of the focus groups at Apteco Live. I'm sure you can probably guess, if you think about flights over the last few years, what the white bit in the middle here is. That was the COVID lockdown. And you can see that for several months, there was a really very much smaller volume of flights that has then come back a bit, then diminished again as the lockdowns applied, and eventually has grown back up to the same sort of volume. And obviously here we're using a thematic shading, so probably decile shading up into the top band. But Chris highlighted a couple of niceties for me. This dot here, which occurs every 12 months, can you guess where that is? If I said it's the end of the year, it's actually Finland, and it's Christmas flights to go and see Santa. And just to kind of make the comparison, can you see the block of colour about 4 lines lower down? That's Greece, and those are summer holidays going on. So starting, some months after the kids went to see Santa, maybe you took them down to a Greek island. So, it's a useful new visualization, and you can select from it. We're going to do some further work, I think, having experimented with it a bit, but we thought it was fun to introduce it and for you guys to give us feedback on that. So a form of heat map in there. We're also constantly improving behavioural modelling, and behavioural modelling is coming to orbit in order to allow us to build models with sophisticated behavioural features. If you've experimented with it, you'll know that we call them features. But we also can now template models. So, for example, we could produce a high value model, or, as it turned out, rather more challenging, a churn model. And we could do that with some standard data, for example, looking at donation history for a not-for-profit, looking at the donation values, the time between donations. We can start to detect those supporters who are perhaps likely to churn. Our MD in Australia reported last week working with a charity and looking at regular givers, but also finding patterns of regular givers who are not known to be such by the charity. They were people who were just getting on with doing it and had decided they were going to give every quarter or once a year perhaps. And using Apteco technology, we were able to find those supporters that were giving regularly but hadn't yet been recognised as such. And to select on those supporters and be able to action them is great. But we can also, as I said, now build templates from behavioural models, and the aim is that we will be able to produce, for example, a standard Apteco churn behavioural model that we can then ship onto a new not-for-profit system or a new commercial system. And of course, the models will be different in the different verticals and the different data available. But as you can see on the screenshot, we're parameterizing those models. And that's in order that an expert using fast stats can drive the behavioral model modeling functionality, create the model, then template it so that it can be deployed on multiple orbit systems. So watch this space as we continue to bring that behavioral modeling power to you. Slightly different tack, just in terms of one form of analysis. You can now do more work in dashboards, for example, including expressions in data grid columns and in audience workbook data grids, for example. So expressions perhaps best authored in FastStats and copied into Orbit, but we will validate that the expression is correct. You can now bring that power, so derived results inside Orbit can be presented in data grids, for example, and used in, as you may know already, in a variety of places where you otherwise would use measures. You can now use them of expressions rather than variables. And for use cases where, for example, you have multiple tabs in a dashboard and you want to put a standard header across the top, which is a use case that we see, you can now copy dashboard tiles to multiple tabs in one go. So just, again, a bit of a usability when you are sort of replicating the same structure across multiple tabs. You will perhaps remember, if you attended Apteco Live, that we showed profile tiles. At the point we showed them, you could only create them, but we can now select on them. I'll show you that in a demo in a minute. So this is a manual selection. It's different from the lookalike process that we'll use our PWE scoring behind the scenes to create an incremental insight measure that we can apply to variables. But sometimes the visualization of a profile is what you want, and it will give you the ability to interact directly. We give you the ability to interact and create a rule directly. So I'll show you that in a minute. Let's just go have a look at FastStats. I haven't done a FastStats demo in these webinars for ages, so I thought I would. Let's just do a very simple cube, just because it's a fun new visualization. And I'm going to put, from the bookings table, I'm going to have our holiday destination, And across the top, I'm going to put our booking date, but I've used the right mouse to drag it. And I'm going to put the months, and let's build that. So we've got a nice big cube. You can see the scroll bar is quite small. There's lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of columns, which I've done on purpose. There are various new options. So if I right click in the heading, I can say I'd like to best fit this column. So you see January got a bit narrower. I can do the same on February. Of course, we can do a best fit on all the columns, which squeezes up. So our scroll bar is bigger. Our width of the whole resource is a little smaller. It does depend a bit on the heading, and in previous iterations we have done things like word wrapping headings to make a multi-line heading so you can get the columns even tighter. But the new mechanism that we've just brought in is showing colors in a small size cube, aka a heat map, and that's the presentation. It's exactly the same cells, all the same months, all the same destinations. We've suppressed the labeling. And right now, our tooltip doesn't show the cell you're looking at. It will show you how many you've highlighted, which is the behavior on a standard cube. But I can make selections of different types on here, you know, choose some bits of that, and then of course just drag that out and drop it, and it will create the rule for me exactly as forever on cubes, even down to a single cell. So, you know, if I want to know what's this group here, just drag that out and drop it, and we will be able to see that this is France with a yearly rule. And if I just look at the rule, we can see it's every May. So this is a selection of May in 2020 and destination of France. So the cube maintains the interactivity. You can, of course, put it back to its normal format, and it, as you saw, it actually, before I clicked on it, it maintained the selected cells. So yeah, let us know how you get on. We think that will be an interesting, useful new mechanism, but just a little thing. I'm not going to try and demo the other parts of that, I don't think. Let me just check my notes. Yeah, I've shown you all of those. Right, let's go back here. I'm not doing a poll on how much do you like our heat maps just yet. Various bits. Let's just have a look at campaigning. And in fact, I need to remember to show you profile tile selections because I've skipped forward without doing it. But we have various new capabilities in campaigning. So you can now use external attributes. External attributes allow you to pull data from other tables, so or databases. So if you've got your valid campaign code set up in your ERP system, for example, we can now reference that. So one type of content personalization is the external attribute, and that allows you to ensure that the values you're providing in the campaign are validated against the external source system. I'm going to demo this one to you. We revamped how we do message personalization, and it's fantastic and flexible and intuitive. You know, it was good before, it's great now, and easier for you to use with all sorts of different types of data. And I'll show you that as we work through. Campaign folders now show status badges, so you can see, for example, how many campaigns within a folder have got alerts or warnings or need approval, for example. And those we're pulling up to the folder, so it's easy to see at a glance what the status is of the campaigns, and we've made folders a bit more flexible. You can rename them on the fly while you're actually in a folder. So let's go and have a look, and in fact I'm just going to see if I can get rid of that tooltip from FastStats that is still hovering there. Let's just get rid of that. Thank you, FastStats. Let's go back to Orbit on to your holidays system. And I forgot to show you profile tiles, so I'll start there and then I'll go show the dashboard stuff, sorry, the campaign stuff. Let's just go to a profile dashboard. So simple profile showing both a summary and a set of detailed profile tiles. Remembering profiling on a dashboard, you can choose a summary layer where you're showing different measures of what the variables contribute, and then you can provide detail where you can choose different presentations of the categories in a particular variable. So the top one here is showing multiple variables, 3 of them. The bottom 3 are showing different measures of one of those variables. I could have done all of them, but I had just done one of them. And it's these bottom tiles where we've got categories that we're able to make manual selections. So, for example, in this case, we can see that the index, the measure of under or over representation, together with colouring to show the statistical significance, it's showing me for this particular set of data, whatever it was. Let's just have a look. People who've travelled to Portugal, we can see that income is statistically significantly predicted. And so it might be appropriate for me to say, well, we seem to be most overrepresented in the highest income individuals. So I will pick those top 3 categories and add those to the filter. Now, in this case, it will amend the analysis filter that we're working on. So it's amending the group that we're working on. But the most salient point is you can have other types of tiles on a dashboard, and you can also create an audience from here. So manually selected from a profile, choosing a set of people, and off it goes. It will create that audience for me, and you will not be surprised to see it's a very simple selection of audiences, sorry, of destinations. Let's just introduce one other topic, which I realise I didn't put in a slide on the deck, but we will confirm this in the release notes. I'm going to go and just choose a dashboard which is called number tile, which, let's just search for that. Why can I not find that? I was going to just show you we're changing the behavior of number tiles somewhat, and I'm slightly surprised I can't see that. Maybe I failed to save it. We've changed number tiles so that they will now do a better job of managing subqueries. So if you create a number tile that is, for example, comparing transactions this year with transactions last year, then that will naturally show 2 numbers, compare percentages. But what we found was if you then add additional transactional criteria, we were using that transactional criteria kind of around the whole of that comparison this year versus last year. An easy way to imagine it is people who have holidays this year versus people who've got holidays last year. You then select people who've travelled to Portugal, as per my profile. We were selecting people who've got a booking this year and have any holiday to Portugal, compared with people who got a booking last year and have any holiday to Portugal. And it takes a little bit of subtlety to realise that is not linking the Portugal and the date range quite so closely together. In fact, here it is. I'm sorry, I'm being dumb. That I renamed it so that it had a more obvious title. I've confused myself. Changed number tile behaviour. There we go. So here's a number tile showing transactions last year compared with the prior year, just so we've got 2 whole years compared. And we can see that we had 293,000 people with a holiday last year, 2% down on the 299,000 people the previous year. Embedded in there, we've got some transaction criteria. We're looking at bookings on certain dates. And over here, you can see I've got 1 million people in total. 293,000 have a booking in the last year, 299,000 have a booking in the prior year. Exactly the same numbers as we have here. So 293, 299. Numbers of people looking at their transactions. I've also put up the numbers of bookings, just so you can see 2 million bookings, 395,000 last year, 410,000 in the previous year. Now, let's just use the example that I gave. Let's say we're going to pick people who have been to Portugal, for example, and we're now filtering all the tiles. So you remember that's how Orbit works. We can see that there's 21,000 people who've been to Portugal. Of those, 4,000 have a booking in the last year, 4,077 have the previous year. And in fact, I'm just going to change my mind and use Australia, because that was the example that I prepared. Let's do that, and you'll see why in a minute. So let's do exactly the same thing, but this time we're just selecting on Australia. And what we've done is made sure that the 2 numbers that are being compared in this number tile at the top left-hand corner are fully implementing the tightest interpretation of the filter criteria that you have given us. Exactly the same filter criteria as we are implementing over here. So we can see 51,000 people with bookings last year to Australia, 51,800 bookings to Australia last year. Now, you might think, okay, that all seems pretty obvious, James, but what we were previously doing in this specific scenario, where you've got a number tile that is counting people, but looking down into their transactions to choose, in this case, a date range, we were previously saying the person must meet the date range, and separately they must meet the filter criteria that you've given us, in this case the criteria of Australia. And when both of those things are on the same transaction table, we're changing the behavior now so that we get into this date range and say, actually, we think you only want to see holidays last year to Australia compared to holidays the previous year specifically to Australia. So quite subtle, but you can see, those of you who are familiar with our selection logic, if I choose people who've got any holiday to Australia and any holiday last year, it's a very different result. That's a much looser result, and is how we were previously applying the Australia criteria on top of what was otherwise picking any holiday. So we think it's a better result. It's more accurate. Technically, you could explain what we were selecting on previously, but this is a tighter, more restrictive selection. We'll put it in the release notes and document it. Now, in the next, this is going to come out imminently, and we've got a help article that explains how to go back to the previous behavior if you want to keep the same results in order, for example, to compare results over time. But we think this is a better result. And in the next sprint, subject to testing, we're going to make the same change to Venn diagrams if the Venn sets that you are presenting use a subquery on a transaction table. So you're looking down into the detail of a set of transactions. And again, we'll make an explanation of that. Venns turned out to be slightly harder to do because you can both look at Venn results, as we're looking at that number tile result, but you can also select on them. And then the filter that you are applying to the Venn becomes, to some extent, defined by the Venn itself. And so we're just making sure that we can deliver exactly the same criteria in the audience. And just to illustrate, if I create an audience, 51k people, we can go look at that, and you won't be surprised to see that we are selecting Australia. In fact, sorry, I haven't put in the criteria for this year versus last year, but if I put in last year, we would get 51,000 people. So the Australian criteria was explicit from us. The date range was part of the comparison process in the number tile. Let's do it, otherwise you will never believe me. Shall we do it? Let's say, and I did it on travel dates, and we picked a dynamic range of, in fact, let's just do a fixed range from January the 1st last year, 2025, to 31st of December. Type it all correctly and apply it, there you go, 51,000, hooray! And you know, the point is we're doing the result that is most explicitly what you asked us for. Right, I think I'm going to just drop back because we only got 5 minutes left. Let's just talk about some upcoming events. In fact, no, I haven't shown you personalization yet. Let's go back and do that. So campaigns, I've done in my audience. Let's go to campaigns. So you now have badges on campaign folders. So you can see where there are folders, for example, that have errored or paused, in this case, 2 of them. Let's just go into one of these and go to the journey, and I'm just going to edit a draft version of this. And I'm going to go and use this initial email content, and I'm going to add some personalization. So let's say we want salutation as a bit of personalization, and I can add content in there. So we'll go and say that we want, for example, a variable, and I'm going to use the person's first name as my variable. But now I can add a split. So let's do a split. I can choose either a segment or split or a percentage split. Let's do a percentage split. We're going to have 2 branches. We're going to say the first one has 25%. The second one has, well, just to make the example, let's say 50%. And the third branch will pick up everyone else. You see there's a default. And this is all really nicely organized now. So I can say I'm going to rename this one to be personal, this one to be formal, for example, and I can edit at any point the percentages just by choosing edit. Lets me change the percentage, so I say 30%, for example, and in this case we can add content, and as I chose already, actually, we can choose the first name variable. And then on this one, I can say that I want to use an expression, and I can either choose an expression or I can type an expression. So let's just say, well, in fact, I don't think I've got time left, but you can type an expression in here to choose that content based on conditions, for example, and then on everyone else, for example, I already chose the variable. Let's just change the type and say in this one I want text field. I'm going to just say dear customer. Click in the box, dear customer, and so now I've got the 3 different branches set up. You can reorder them, you can rename them, you can change percentage splits, you can do the same with segment selection, so choosing based on segments rather than based on percentages. You can give different content according to the different people that you select. So reworked capabilities, you had much of those capabilities in before, but we've made it very much more approachable now, and hopefully I've done that justice in a rather hurried manner. Let's just go back to upcoming events. So we're going to be at the Insight and Fundraising Awards in April at Shakespeare's Globe. On Shakespeare's birthday, I noticed. So come and see us there. And we can ask you to save the date because Apteco Live 2026 will be on Thursday, the 12th of November in central London. So you can start making your travel plans, and we will reveal both the venue and the keynote speaker over the coming weeks and months so that you can choose to join us, hopefully, for the day in person once again, not streamed. You've got to come to the event to be part of it. So Thursday, 12th of November in central London. Please save the day. Remember, you can try our software for free using your own data or data in your Salesforce system or our demonstration data. We have the usual mechanism where you can submit ideas. Just go to our ideas portal online. We produce that into the roadmap. And just to give you an idea of what's coming soon, we've got, for example, Orange extensions, which I'll talk about more in a mo, improved CDP validation. You can always see what's coming on the roadmap, and you can filter by our different teams. A little bit about what's coming with Orin. We're improving his ability to handle dates, so you can do relative dates rather than just absolute ranges. His ability to amend an audience that you have created, for example, the ability to use the exclude panel in audiences, his ability to use different languages, and not for Orin, but just as an upcoming feature, we're going to bring in multi-factor authentication capabilities in Q2. So you can require your users to log on using an authenticator app and a QR code, as you'll have seen on many different systems. Right, Mel, sorry, I've overrun. Let's just have a quick poll to see how useful the session was. Yes, so which of those facilities are most useful to you? You can select on here. So was selecting on profile tiles useful? Was the improved number tile filter relevant? A/B tests are now coming out of preview. I demoed those at Apteco Live. Campaign folder badges are there, and improved content personalization, or the help hub. If you just submit which of those are useful to you. Thank you very much. It's interesting. People liked the number tile filters. And then I think, Mel, if you just go on to the next poll, how useful was the session? Just perhaps give us a guidance of whether this has been a useful hour and 2 minutes. I apologize, I've overrun somewhat. And let's just see how useful you found it. Okay, thank you very much. Glad to find that was useful. Let's just finish by saying we do have a forthcoming change to the IP address on some of our server side. Now, it shouldn't affect anybody at all, but if you have whitelisted the IP address rather than the URL, you will need to update your IP address whitelisting. We're going to send a technical note round just to identify that. It's because we use a Kubernetes cluster for our licensing and other central services, and one of the components had reached the end of its supported life, so we're upgrading, and that brings a change. But just to be clear, no change at all to the URLs that we use to address it, and it's only if you've whitelisted the IP address that it's an issue. I've mentioned multi-factor. We have various other developments. We've got the census data available for you. We've got scheduled audience exports coming. We've got campaign folder constraints coming, so you can say 1 email per month per campaign folder, for example. We've got costs coming on campaigns. so that you can get better marketing effectiveness reporting straight out of Orbit, and you will be able to get Orin to give you a campaign summary, which we showed somewhat at the end. I've already done the feedback poll, and that's it. Sorry, I overran again. There's always so much to talk about. Thank you very much for your time. I'm James Alty. You can reach me by any of those means. That's the end of the webinar.